The Planning Commission for August 19th, 2024. We get a roll call?
Sure. Mr. Westbrooks?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Wallenhurst?
Here.
Ms. Muskie?
Here.
First item is approval of the July 15th, 2024 public hearing minutes. Any comments?
I move we approve as submitted.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
We abstain.
Two abstentions, okay. And then the approval of the regular July 15th Planning Commission meeting minutes. Any comments?
I'll move it. Also approve as submitted.
All right.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? All right. First agenda item, Mr. Neff in Momentum Church. I'd like to come on up. You could sit down here. We're a little less formal. Yeah.
Much more
Could point to stuff and.
I'm Rachel Gregory. I work for Momentum Church as a building manager, administrative assistant, and I am here with Mr. Neff today.
Greetings.
Good evening.
I'm handling this project. First of all, Matt Neff, I'm Neff Consultants, and civil engineer land surveyor. So I'm working on this project with the church for a parking lot expansion. The existing lot is 73 spaces. We're going to add 46 new spaces for a total of 114. And we're just extending the existing parking lot directly to the north, enough to get another 2 rows of parking. And we've submitted a preliminary plan. We sent it over to Joe Gigliotti, and he seemed to think that everything was okay once we get everything done with final design by a licensed engineer. And I believe that we're in pretty good shape here. And just
Okay.
looking for comments from the commission.
Did you want to say anything?
Oh, and the other thing too, we're submitting a lot consolidation too.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's 2 parcels there that we're going to bring together.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make it known that Mr. Neff and I have done work in the past, so just want to make that aware of the commission. If anybody feels that I need to sit this one out, I'm happy to do so. I don't feel there's any conflict though.
You got a problem with that?
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. We could go through some of the comments. Mr. Ness, if you'd like to go over yours.
Sure. Yeah, my report dated August 9th, review of the application dated July 24th, 2024, which includes a revised site plan. So the Planning Commission may remember the church previously was here and had the parking lot on the west side of the individual standalone lot. 2 items kind of came out of that meeting. Preference would be to move it to the north side and then consolidate the lots. So that's essentially what they've done, which is appreciative. I think it does make it better to have it on the north side than immediately when you come into the west. So that's, I think that's really good in terms of the application. As the applicant said, creating about 65 spaces previously, or 45 spaces previously was 62. Just a few items as I go through the plan. The stormwater feature that's in the northeast corner of the combined site just needs city engineer review and approval. The ingress egress into the expansion area, it's a bit wonky. It looks like it goes directly through some parking spaces.
We've corrected it. It was just a couple lines that we tucked in erase.
So there
So I
will be a
apologize for that.
dedicated drive aisles.
Yes, on both sides.
Good. So that clears up that issue. And then the same thing, I'm assuming there were those kind of just like squares and rectangles in the one corner. That'd be the northwest corner of the site.
Well, we've got a square there now striped out, so that we did slight modifications to that, so I could give this to you if you like, and we just squared it out and kept it.
Sure. So this space here specifically.
Yes.
So, and curbing is required in this instance for a parking lot. So could you just curb around
Oh,
and cut
oh
this
yeah,
out.
we can do that. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
just, and then you can keep it green. It'd be better than striping and a little less pavement. And I didn't know what this is here. If that's 2 parking spots, it could be, I don't know.
It's a little bigger. We'll square them up and make sure everything's,
Yeah, so if the
Proper
intent is
size,
to make
everything
one
is
space
19.
there, if that's the intent, is this a parking space?
it is, but.
Yeah, so just make it the normal width
Okay.
and then curb that way and just make
Correct.
the landscaping. That'll clear that up.
No, No, we'll just curb, Rachel's asking me, we just need to curb the west side, north side, and east side of the new lot.
Yeah.
But not the existing. Okay. I just want to make sure we do it right.
Yeah, unless the engineer says something different. The consolidated lots, that's good, that looks as though they comply with the code. And then the drive aisle of the new is 24
24
feet,
feet.
and existing is 22. And you could do that.
You want us to, could we bring it back to 22 and save 2 feet?
You'd save 2 feet of pavement,
That'd be
you have a
great.
little more green grass, and even though it's only 2 feet, it is a little wonky when there's, when
No,
you're
it's fine.
different.
I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to do that.
And then, so I just said generally some cleanup on the plans, and then it didn't quite print out to that 1 to 20 scale. It's just off.
Okay.
It's close. Just, it's all,
We'll double
yeah,
check.
it's just off. so.
Sometimes that happens when you're making the PDFs.
Yeah. Well, the PDF preserves scale, and then when you print it in PDF, you have 2 options. So it may not have been printed in the right
Okay.
option. One is print to actual or print to full page.
Print to fit.
Print to fit will mess up the
And that
scale.
messes it up.
Print to actual will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. July? Yeah, thanks, Chairman. So we got the detention pond in the northeast corner. So that's good, you reserved a spot. So I think your next step is to submit us the stormwater calcs on that, and make sure that we meet the code. As Brian already mentioned, the new parking lot, and only the new parking lot, needs a curb. The existing parking lot, I guess you could think of it as your grandfather did. We're not gonna make you go back and curb what's been there for 30 years or longer, probably. Matt, as you know, you need to submit a full set of construction drawings. So stamp on it, please. Lot consolidation looks good, so submit that to us for signatures, please.
Do you need the owner's signature prior to?
Yeah,
your
surveyor and
signature?
owner first,
Okay.
and then myself and the chairman will sign last on behalf
Okay.
of the city.
Perfect.
And then I guess the one thing that I did not write into my memo, but just bring it up verbally, the 2 new aisles that we'll be creating to get into and out of the new parking area. Make sure you get a turning radius on there, because the way it's drawn right now, there is no radius, so no one would be able to make a
Right.
right-hand turn coming in and out of there. They'd have to go left of center or through the parking spaces, or it just won't work. But I'll let you do that as part of your final plans. That's all I got, otherwise we're good, Chairman.
All right, Mr. Coach? Nothing? All right. You know anything? All right, you guys got any questions? Nothing? Okay, so it looks like this should be pretty cut and dry. I mean, I think if you address the things in in the memos, clean up a couple of the parking spots, the curbing, the drive aisle, eventually with the stormwater calcs for their approval. I think all those things could be handled administratively. They don't need to come back here for those little things, I wouldn't think. Mr. France, besides just mentioning, addressing your comments, should call out those few things?
I like to, that's up to the commission, but it's just clear for the record what's
Okay.
being approved with what conditions.
Okay. Well, then, I'll make a motion to approve the plan with a couple revisions, including addressing parking spots in the drive aisles, The drive aisle width to be revised to 22 feet. Curbing of the parking lot, as well as any other comments in the engineer or the planner's memos. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion on?
It's a good motion.
All right.
That's a good start.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for seeing us.
Matt, when you make your resubmittal, make it to Susan, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Have a good evening.
Take care. And the next one was at the applicant's request,
Yep.
right, that they be continued? Okay, the next item, Oakwood Hospitality, the hotel, at their request, I'd like to make a motion to table that to the September meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next up is the, yes. Yeah, the National Church, sorry. I was looking for the name. Ms. Miskey will be recusing herself. Jump forward to page 415.
Mr. Chairman. Maybe let the record
That's right.
reflect.
We have to sign this real quick. It was continued.
Susan, can you mark on the record that Ms. Meskey's recusing herself?
Absolutely.
That's why I said that. You're right, you have it. You should have first, man.
I didn't read your mind.
Just trying to open this thing.
Good peek up mine.
Just go ahead. I've been trying.
Yeah, filling out this page has helped. Good evening. I know you guys have been in many times, but
Welcome back.
if we could, just for the record, could we get your names, just so Susan can?
Absolutely. Kevin Brown with National Church Residences.
Tom Baldwin, Graham Hall Engineering.
All right. All right, I don't know if you just want to go over what you've done since the last time and what's changed, or if we want to get into addressing the comments. I'm not sure what would be the best on your side.
Well, we're here to explain the project to you, and if it works, I can give you a little bit of an update or refamiliarize yourself with the project, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, why don't you give a little update just
Okay.
since the last time we met?
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to present it in front of the planning commission. Thank you so much for meeting with us, and I'm glad Javier and Tom introduced themselves. And we've actually done quite a bit of work since we last met, and that was on April 29th, so it's been a few months, I guess, now. And we did, just to kind of let you know, at that time, there was a variance we were pursuing, so we did appear before the Board of Zoning Appeals. We unfortunately did not receive the variances that we requested, so the plan we have tonight does reflect a fully compliant complement of parking spaces. And I think that's probably the biggest difference in the plan since you last talked. There are a number of other subtle differences, and we'll kind of get into that when we really start. I think we want to address the comments that were raised, not all of them, because some of them were really more for note or saying, hey, you got to apply to Cleveland Water, things like that, that really don't require a response. But some of them we do want to address and talk about how we're hopefully meeting those or pointing out on the plans where we're attempting to meet those comments or the criteria that was raised. So just to remind everybody, and I'm sorry, I like to kind of stand up a little bit. North is to the right on this plan, just to be clear. So State Route 8, Valley View Road here. We don't have an address for the site yet. I'm assuming it'll be assigned once we submit for building permit. But we are immediately adjacent to the Northwoods bowling lanes. So this triangular shaped piece of property that's accessed by easements from Valley View Road. So the driveways, as you can see, shared from Valley View Road through to we get this piece here. Then it's a private driveway that accesses the site. We are still proposing 54 units of senior housing. They're all one-bedroom apartments. And our site plan does include 81 parking spaces. So we've changed the site layout to try to wrap parking a bit closer, taking into account some of the comments were raised, I think, at the previous planning commission meeting, that the parking that we had proposed to be reserved or were seeking a variance for started to end up being a little further away from the entry. And we were also trying to respond to some of the comments about fire access as well. So, hope I'm not stealing any of your thunder here, Tom, but we have access, or driveway access on the north side of the building, the west side of the building, and also have vehicular access on the south side of the building, and have parking on all three sides as well. So we have a total of 81 spaces that is in compliance with the zoning regulations. As noted previously, and shows up again, we did a circular drop-off entry at the entry for, could be shuttle buses, visitors, people picking up grandma or mom to go out or drop them off. We do include some outdoor amenities. We've had to move those around as the site design has changed. By putting the driveway here, it kind of forced us to do a walking path. It still goes completely around the building, but kind of the meandering path is more on the east side of the building. And we do have the requisite amount of stormwater drainage shown on the site too. And Tom will talk about that as it relates to some comments coming up here. We are in compliance with all the setback requirements of the site. In fact, we have some wiggle room even within those setbacks. So the building is still located the same distance that it was previously to the north property line and to the Spring Hill condos to the north. Let's see, the building, still the same program within the building, the 54 apartments with we have a community room with a warming kitchen, a fitness room, multi-purpose room, laundry, service coordinator office, and on-site property management. These are full one-bedroom apartments with full kitchen, full bath, and each apartment has its own washer and dryer as well. And the building is a 3-story structure. Javier will talk more about some of the responses to the building material comments that were raised in the architectural section here, but the elevations do include materials that we think are appropriate for the location. So we, as you mentioned, we did receive response letters. Susan, Mrs. Roganish, was nice enough to forward those on to us. Like last Monday, we distributed those amongst our design team, kind of a bit of feedback. So we received a letter from planning, architectural design, engineering, fire. So I'm not, as I mentioned, I'm just going to try to address comments that really are relevant to the discussion tonight. In the planning review letter, and if Mr. Franz wants to bring up some other comments, but I think really one was kind of mostly relevant for discussion. And certainly Tom and Javier will talk about some of the other comments that may be related to some of the planning comments, but more fleshed out in the engineering and fire and architectural. And it was really with the easements. And Mr. Franz raised good points about the easements that cross our property. We do have an electrical easement that runs east and west across our property. We have been in communication with the utility about starting the process to relocate poles, to move that pole line or those lines probably to the north. We're going to be working that out with the electric utility. That's I don't know if you've gone through this, it's a rather long process to relocate power lines, so we wanted to get that going as soon as possible. And we understand there's a cost, and we will cover the cost of that pole relocation. The other easements of issue that were raised in the review, there is a sanitary sewer easement that runs north and south, really between our building and the bowling alley, just along our eastern property line. The building is not located in the easement, but we do have sidewalks and landscaping improvements. We understand if the sewer district takes it upon themselves to do some disturbance of that area, it would be our responsibility to replace those improvements. And as the owner, we are prepared to do that. The other easement is the septic easement, which is a rather sort of odd easement, but it runs diagonally, as you can see, across our property and runs up to the north somewhere. We don't really understand it completely. We don't know if it's being utilized actually. So we're still kind of working through that issue, made contact with the Summit County Sewer District. It sounds like the bowling alley is on septic. Not sure where that tank actually may be. Not sure where that line may have originally gone, if it's how it was actually used. It's sort of, it's a little odd. So we're trying to work through the issue to understand if we can extinguish that easement. We believe it must be extinguished to the north, given that condos were built there a few decades ago, but we don't really know.
I think there's been a variety of stuff out there in that area. I don't know if you guys had any history on what was back there, but I mean, I think there was a driving range at one point. There was, anybody else know? There was some kind of, like a pool or something?
I don't remember a pool, I remember a practice range.
How about the bowling alley? How is their sewer? They have a actual sewer?
No, we were told I was told by the sewer district, they have their own septic.
Their own septic, going some other direction.
We don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah,
Have you had a title search done on the property?
Oh, yeah.
And an Alta survey?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that should yield the answer for you guys,
Should.
right?
Well, it yields the fact that there is the sanitary easement there.
Yeah, but you should have the easement document with the terms in it, who it's to, what it's used for, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, it doesn't, we do, and just to correct you, septic, not sanitary, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Septic drainage easement,
Mhm.
but if it's being utilized,
Yeah.
we don't know. We haven't done test pits or anything to confirm anything.
You said it's a septic drainage easement?
Septic drainage.
So is that for the bowling alley since they're still on septic?
Again, yes, I mean, it would be
When-
if they actually use it, but
Yeah. I think
Where
when
does
you
it
get it
go?
figured out, why don't you provide us with that information? Let us know the details on it and how you plan to address it.
well,
Because I don't think we're gonna be able to figure it out in this room.
no, and I'm just trying to relay some facts that we have at this point, not trying to kind of solve the issue within this room.
Exactly. yeah.
But I
We're
would
not.
state that if we can't really come up with an understanding of where it goes, or if it's being utilized, we do have the flexibility to slide the building. We can slide the building about 30 feet to the south and avoid that easement altogether with the building. Given the nature of the easement, there's no way to avoid it crossing sidewalks, landscaping, and parking areas in the future. And again, if there was ever disturbance to those areas and maintaining or accessing that easement, that would be our risk.
So the parking on the south would shift to the north then, if you slid the building?
No, I think we could slide the building and we could slide the parking down. We may have to move a couple parking spaces to the north. It's something we really haven't worked out,
Okay.
but worst case scenario, that's how we could, I think we could avoid that septic. Yeah, it's just, it's a bit odd. I've not come across kind of this condition previously. So with that, I'm fortunate to be joined with our team members here. So I'm going to ask Tom to talk about the civil drawings a bit and design, and to address some of the comments raised in the engineering and fire review.
So Kevin stole some of my thunder, but it is what it is. We can kind of start off maybe with the fire department. Because we're so far back from the road and from any hydrants, you're looking for some hydrants on the site.
Correct, the entranceway would be from Valley View.
Yep.
And
So currently our water line and we're working with Cleveland Water right now to kind of get applications and kind of start a
Yeah,
process with.
there's a hydrant west of that,
Yeah,
west of the driveway there.
right over, and right up here and right
Yeah.
here. So we would, well, we would have a water line that comes back for a fire service or fire department connection, fire line at the building itself. And we could provide a hydrant back here if necessary, for that, to meet kind of any of the fire department's requirements to provide adequate fire protection back at the building itself. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, part of the civil package that we provided had some turning movements in it that showed kind of the fire access coming in, going around the circle, coming on this side of the building, and on this side of the building, showing full access on the three sides of the building as necessary, and getting out of the parking area itself. So, I mean,
We'd be looking to continue the 300-foot access, 300-foot distance between hydrants.
okay, so you'd
And
be
then-
300 feet and then 300 feet
I'm looking from your driveway.
from the driveway down here.
Right.
You would want a hydrant kind of in
Right,
here. and
because,
then-
yeah, the fire
Okay.
truck's not gonna drive through somebody else's front yard to get to it, and it's not gonna pull off a Broad 8 either, so.
Where does your water line run from? How are you gonna get water to the building?
So there's a utility easement, existing utility easement for our property here,
Oh,
and we're pulling water from this side here and coming onto our property there. So we could easily extend a hydrant or a line, part of the 8-inch line that we would have to extend, put a hydrant back here. We could easily extend a hydrant down in this area here,
Right.
along the side of the driveway.
And then to carry the 300 feet to the north of the building,
You'd want something over here.
yeah.
Okay. So I believe that would, and then obviously anything for the hydrants would be 8-inch lines, as you
Yes.
noted. in-
Yes, 8-inch lines coming in for yard hydrants. And then they're looking for the fire code, maximum 150-foot travel distance carrying the lines.
Yep, we will meet your
What's the
requirements.
total length of your building, north and south?
260
260.
Okay,
is the distance from the road, the edge of the
Yeah.
pavement. How do you measure
thank you
it?
for the extra parking spaces, because my first picture was a car parked right up there where the only spot you had left there on the north side.
So we can kind of move on to engineering. We will submit stormwater management calculations for the two bases. It'll be,
Sure.
uh,
Tom, while we're on the stormwater basins,
Mhm.
my comment's a little bit generic, but one thing I wanted to call to your attention on there, well, let me back up a half a step. In general, it seems that the site drains in kind of a southwesterly direction. You've got two ponds on there, which is good, but the pond in the northwest corner seems to drain or would empty to the north. In fact, it almost seems like it empties directly into the Spring Hill Pond, is that correct?
So existing grade wise, I believe there's kind of like a break point here in the site
Is
itself.
there?
Yes,
Okay.
based off of our contours, so that would, all this would ultimately end up into that basin already. And then this already goes down, as you mentioned, to the southwest, to
Okay.
that back portion.
I would be careful, because I'm looking at the contours right now, Tom, and I don't want to get too deep into the details on the floor, because that's
Yeah.
not the spot, but it seems that that break is very close to the north property line, right about where you just had your hand. So
Okay,
when you're putting your stormwater calcs together, be cognizant of that, because what we don't want to do is redirect water in a different direction. Naturally, I'm
Yeah.
sure you know that.
yes.
And I'd also be very concerned about dumping directly into somebody else's detention pond as well. So take a look at all that
Yeah.
and revise as needed, please.
Yes, and we'll obviously submit as we need to for
Mhm.
review, and we can have discussions on how that is handled.
Be happy to do that.
Let's see. Wetlands will obviously, your comment too about needing to deal with the wetlands.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
address
if you
this
wanted
would be
to.
helpful, yeah. We did address the wetlands in a phase 1 ESA. which I can share that with you if that'd be helpful. I know it's not typical, but because of who we provide the phase 1 to, they have extra requirements to address wetlands. And I actually got an email back from the provider today stating property was assessed by a qualified professional. There are no potential no potential jurisdictional waters were identified on the property. Ohio EPA's isolated wetland permit is not applicable.
Yeah, can you submit that to us?
Absolutely. I can give you the phase 1 and or highlight it, and I can give you the response from our consultant coming up here.
Let's see. Your next comment is related to the access road, the typical section. Which we provided. We can update that. I took a look at the pavement this evening. For the most part, the best option, I think, might be to do a full replacement of it. I think if we try to cut off edges, save it, we're just...
It's hard to save it sometimes, yeah, you get a better product.
And reflective cracking and everything.
I feel the same way. Plus,
So-
we don't even know how much asphalt is there anyways.
Exactly, so we'll update our typical section to reflect that as necessary.
Okay.
And after some conversations with you and with Brian and Summit County back and forth on your number 4, they are consolidated. It's just 2 different tax districts require it to be graphically shown that way.
Yeah, we're good. Brian found that out as well.
Then your comments 5, 6, and 7. We'll work with Cleveland Water. We'll work with Summit County on any kind of permitting, any kind of requirements are necessary for the sanitary water. And then we'll obviously work with the gas company for the gas reconnection or gas connection for the site itself.
Okay. Yeah, and Tom, if I could go back up to 3, we didn't address the second half of number 3. As we'll need some sort of documentation from you guys clarifying this private drive / easement as to, who can use it, who's responsible for it, all that type of stuff. So
Sure.
you can make that part of your resubmittal. And I'm sorry, and Tom, also number 7, make sure you include gas service as well in however that easement access document works out.
Absolutely.
And then we already talked about the septic easement.
Yep.
And then, thank you. Oh, cool. And then I guess the last thing is, you mentioned the power lines naturally have to be relocated. Please make sure you show the relocation on your resubmittal as well, where you plan to move it to. So
I was gonna say, I thought we showed that on our utility plan, which I did not print off.
I don't
It was,
think it shows, I'm looking at the utility plan right now.
it was shown all the way up north, running alongside the storm sewer easement.
Oh, got it,
It's
okay.
kind of like right there, right next to the storm sewer.
Yep, got it, okay.
That will be coordinated, obviously, locations and everything like that.
Okay.
I think that addresses kind of the engineering and the fire department comments.
Thank you, Tom.
So, I'll turn it back over to you,
I
Ben.
appreciate it, thank you. Javier from Duarte, our architectural firm for the design team, is going to address some of the architectural comments of note here as well.
Looking at the consultant notes mainly. And I think most of them have to do with the first one, for example, we're saying we're gonna choose the colors and finishes at this stage. So we pick the different materials, which are in this board here. So we're using a shingle, like red brick, mainly, and then we have some shades and some siding in different parts of the building. The upper one is the shades, we have siding, and we have brick. in the building. I think 2, 3, 4 were the concern about the use of brick, because the surrounding buildings are brick. And, you know, we did design-wise, we bring in this is the facade facing State Route, right? So we brought the brick back to the second level of this facade, acknowledging that. But we also feel, you know, with the community, there's the 3 buildings around that are brick, but they're all different brick. There's not really anything cohesive about that. But there's also a lot of residential siding community all around us. So I think because it's a residential, it's nice to have a balance of brick. So we like to use the brick at the ground level and then let the other materials, the siding be on the top, kind of make it a little more human scale. So this is the facade that has the most brick, is the one facing the State Route. And then as you go behind, this is the facade facing the bowling alley. What else we have? Yes, I mean, there's suggestions here of, you know, using more brick, less brick. You know, I don't know how to, you guys are gonna be more specific and I'm thinking about where or not, but we feel this is a good balance, you know, of not having like a full brick building. Another concern was number 6 mentions the dryer vents. So we do have, you know, we showed in the plan, and then I have another plan here that we labeling those in the documents, but you know, we're showing our roofing vents and also our dryer vents on the facade. And they'll be matching the colors surrounding that material. Another item, number 7, is showing the HVAC units. Any questions so far on the elevations, concerns? Jump to the
I'll wait
side.
till you're done and then we can kind of go back and go through some of these. Yeah, keep going.
I think the last few items here have to do with what are we doing with the mechanicals? We have a few units that we're gonna have in this side of the building that would be landscaped. And then it says, it shows dumpster enclosure. This is where the dumpster enclosure is located. And it's a cedar wood material, and we can talk about maybe upgrading that if that's a concern. But typically, that's the typical cedar spec, but we can always go with the composite material if you want brick or any other kind of enclosure. But typically, you will have 3 walls, a door, maybe a door here for handicap access, so it can dump the trash. And then the last one here talks about perimeter fencing should be addressed. We've thrown some ideas, possibly doing some on the back side of the building here, kind of to screen the bowling alley. Yeah, go over.
Yeah, thanks, Javier. Berardi does a really great job of giving us, putting the details and the drawings together. And I think one item that I probably wanted to point out, because I think it came up in the comments, maybe hard to see in the elevation, but was the use of soldier courses, row lock courses in the brick and different details. And it's, I'm sorry, it may be hard to see. I can bring this a little bit forward if it would be all helpful. But we do have a lot of different banding going on in the trim. In the windows, we do have soldier. They are showing soldier courses above the window lintels and row lock courses at the windowsills, using the use of soldier coursing with this transition on the 2-story or from the brick to the siding as well. So I think it was probably because it was maybe hard to see or in smaller scale, but a lot of that detailing was already put into the elevations that were submitted here. So I think some of it's really been kind of thought through already. Maybe we just need to maybe have something that has more of a blown up submission that shows some of that detailing and a little more pronounced.
I have a question, Colin.
Go ahead.
Maybe I didn't understand Pam Schultz's request. Does she want more brick than you're proposing? Is that what she wants?
Well, I think
Did you understand that?
I think we understand the comment generally. I think, Javier, is this the same plan, same elevations that were submitted? So,
Yeah.
okay, so this is the elevations that were submitted, this is the level of brick. We're sort of questioning, really the need to have additional brick on the elevation that faces the bowling alley in particular, and also the north and the south. We, as I think most developers do, try to put our higher end, our finishes on the main facing elevation, which is
Sure.
the one at the lower, that's the entry elevation, it's the most visible.
Is it the expense of adding more brick? I guess I gather that she suggesting more brick going up, it would be the expense that's bothersome.
Well, it's the expense, and I also think we're trying to hit the right character. You know, with, I guess in my perspective, I think a mix of materials helps to make the buildings look more residential. The character and context of the area. The dentist office is mostly brick. It has some siding, banding along the top of it, and also some bump outs. The residential structures to the north and to the east are probably 85–90% siding with brick accents. The bowling alley, you know, it was built in a very specific time, right in the 50s. As a classic 50s look with brick. And it is brick that faces the south as you enter. And interestingly enough, it is brick facing to the west. It's just a completely blank brick wall with no openings. So, you know, that's why we were that kind of related to where we wanted to put the fencing as well. What do we think is necessary for fencing?
Well, that answered my question. Thank you.
So we felt that this was the right mix, what we're proposing of brick and siding. And we're using two different types of siding as well, both a lap siding and a shape. Yeah.
So I tend to agree with Pam's comments that I think additional brick does need to go on the building. I think there's some, especially some of the elevations that you're gonna see more visible, especially as you're going down Route 8 there, in both directions, where you do, like those two elevations, the north and the south elevation, are pretty bland, and I know those aren't prominent sides of the where you have any activity, but I think some detail needs to go into those, and I think adding some brick and some maybe potential look of some areas maybe where the brick gets depressed a little bit, where it appears to be a window or something, would add some features to it, especially the one I would say heading north, because that is going to be one you are going to see going down that road, and I feel like there's not enough detail or attention to address that. I also think that on the tower elements, that would be a good opportunity to take the brick up all the way, and just where the insets are, provide just the different change of materials. I think that would give still just as nice of a look, allow you, where you do have a little bit of that play of the bump house or the towers coming in and out, a different material kind of sitting back in there, but really kind of reads to a nice mass of what's going on there by making those brick. I did have a question in regards to the building height. So you guys are saying that you're 35 feet to the peak of the building?
No, the zoning code requires us to be 35 feet to the midline of the roof.
Okay. Because I have a concern with what those residents are going to see. It's just that's really tall right there. Just in terms of, and I'm wondering if there's a way to break that up a little bit to help that mass seem less obtrusive. What is it to the top of the roof then? To your top peak? It doesn't show anywhere in the drawings because I looked for it. The only thing that you're able to pick out is that and I couldn't even tell that until just one of the recent drawings showed 35 feet.
No.
to the midpoint. Looks like another 4 feet to the ridge line. It's only measuring,
So that's
just guessing.
39.
That's the 35 line, and that's about 6 foot right here, 5 foot 11.
So 39 to 40 feet probably.
Like 4 feet, 5 feet. Here to that line.
Okay. Yeah, again, I think some additional investigation needed for the elevations in terms of the materials that are used and adding some additional brick to tie to the buildings that aren't directly in context to these buildings.
So I hear you right, you're suggesting to like all this brick, all this brick, all of this?
Yeah, all of
All
those.
the way just like this?
Yes,
So it'd be like 80% brick?
I think so. I mean, the buildings, the three buildings that this is directly adjacent to are all brick. I think still having some siding in there is acceptable.
Which
Just
three
work-
buildings are you
I
referencing?
guess I-
The dentist office and the bowling alley. I mean, you guys are directly in
And the post
relationship
office.
to them.
The post office is the third building?
Post offices, no, it would be the bowling alley. Well, you guys would be the third building.
Okay.
Because the residential structures to the north have.
But those are residential structures. You're talking two different building types.
Yeah, well, this is residential, I guess that's why I'm confused.
No,
because
it's a commercial residential
feel-
building. It's not a residential building. So,
Still falls under the residential code.
Okay,
no,
I
you
just
fall
want-
underneath you fall underneath the code of Macedonia that's
Yeah.
states that the buildings are primarily supposed to be mainly brick for your type of building, so.
In the town center.
Correct.
You do
area.
fall under the town center.
Yeah,
So that's
a
primarily
special
brick.
deal. Trying to make it look better here in this town center.
That's fair, I mean, yeah, we're looking at it, what we think architecturally works, in our opinion, but it's aesthetics, so.
And then as far as the dumpster enclosure goes, that'll need to be a material, that'll need to be brick material that matches the building as well. I think that was all.
Okay. Ms. France, you had some comments as well. You wanna go over?
Been very quiet, huh? It's unusual.
Finally, you get to speak.
Yeah, so can we just start with the dumpster enclosure? Is that 2 enclosures you're proposing? There's 2 symbols.
It's one enclosure.
There's 2 squares.
2 dumpsters?
Yeah,
One enclosure.
that's what it shows on the site plan. If it's 1, then just reflect it for it. Looks like it's 1 large enclosure with 2 maybe dumpsters inside it?
Right,
Is that what it is?
yes.
So you just need details for that on the
Uh,
next plan.
These are the details. So you can, you have access for a wheelchair, you can use the, if you want to come out. There's 2 big doors in front.
They're dumpsters, they're not, there's no compactor.
No, just.
That's right, it's just dumpsters.
Yeah.
Just dumpsters.
I guess, sorry, Mr. Franz, I do have one additional question in regards to the dumpster. Is there a reason it's put up at the front of the building? Is that where, like, kind of that prep kitchen is and such? Is that the location for it? It feels like the more appropriately would be back on the back part of the building, but
Yeah,
not understanding what the programmatic elements on the first floor are.
yeah, the dumpster, so there's a lobby, I don't have the floor plan. But the entry is here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this area is where the elevator is, mechanical.
Right, yep.
dumpster, all that, so you come out, service that.
But as far as like the prep kitchen that you had mentioned, that's more on,
Well, let
what
me
is that?
clarify that. It's not a prep kitchen. We're not preparing meals. It's a warming kitchen associated with the community room. So it'd be a kitchen where if there's a potluck, someone could bring down a dish or food can be brought in. It could be rewarmed if necessary, and people could, be served or put out on the tables.
Okay.
But it's not like a commercial kitchen.
No stove, just like a microwave.
Okay.
Let it out.
So I guess my thought was that maybe that was the, now, thank you for the clarification on like what that actually is, but I kind of almost feel like that dumpster enclosure would be better suited at the back of the building, not like, kind of as you're coming in, it kind of seems like you'd want to see the building more than you would want to see the dumpster enclosure kind of sitting there. Like tucking in the back would be a little bit more appropriate, I think, of the location, so it's more hidden.
Yes, I can't argue with you, it just, it makes it more difficult to service, of course.
Yeah, where is the back? Where do you think the back is?
Right where that part, that like 44 parking, like, no, I would go like actually almost dead ended into like almost just move it, yeah, just dead ended like to over there. Unless that wouldn't meet your setback requirements, so it looks like now that I see, that's the red line, I take it.
Yeah.
So this is,
So that doesn't
Well-
even look like if you were to shift the building forward, like you had mentioned earlier, you would have room to do so
I
though.
don't know if
Based on that
it's-
setback,
I don't
when
know.
you had mentioned bringing the building forward for that
See that setback
one
here?
easement, your setback, you don't have enough room to do that, I don't
I
think.
looked at that earlier.
we, s-
This line, is that?
the Route 8 line right here. That is. So that'd be, sliding forward, it would be tight in through right here.
Yeah, it looks like you have more room on the one plan than you do on this one.
So-
Or this one, you have more room than the other one.
So, I mean, you're sliding it, that's 40 feet right there, so 30 feet is right in there. I mean, as I said, you'd be right on the line,
Yeah,
or really
okay,
close to it, but we could fit it in there.
okay,
25
that's fine.
so
Just look at the other plan, it looked a little tighter, it looked a little off compared to this, but that shows it has like, it looks like it has a little bit more room to shift, if you need to shift the building, I just happened to catch that one.
Yeah. So you're thinking the dumpster enclosure, where was that?
I feel like dumpster enclosure should go in the back there. No, I wouldn't put it out there. I would put it like right, yeah, basically dead end it right into there. So that way, again, it's kind of not that, as you're coming up the drive, you'd see the back of that dumpster enclosure, you'd come around, it would be something you would see. I feel like kind of hiding in the back would be a better location for it.
The only problem with that being there is that's your sanitary easement right here,
Mm.
and you're
Yep,
putting
that
it right
poses
in,
another problem.
this-
Okay.
right on top of the sanitary easement, and so I think that would be.
Plus it'd be far away from the, from the building.
No.
You'd have to hike through the parking lot to,
They could
Put
go
stuff
through,
in.
they would go through the building, the same, it's
Oh.
actually would be closer than where they have it right now, if they were to put it in the back, right out that one door that's at the end.
Would require
Can you-
people to travel further within the building.
Can you service a dumpster where you're proposing with the truck?
I
Yeah.
kinda wondered that too.
Yes.
You can, I don't know, you're creating much more potential for conflict, right? I mean, the garbage truck's coming further into the property, it's damaging more pavement.
No, he's talking about where you have it placed right now.
Well, no, I was actually referring where you're proposing to put it, because now
Oh,
that
okay,
truck's
sorry.
going as deep as it possibly can into it, navigating turns and all that, cars,
Right.
people.
It's got to back
I
up to
think
it
where
somehow.
it was looked good to me.
It moves further away from the elevator, actually, doesn't the elevator closer to the entry?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, we'll definitely, made it breathe, landscape and all that, make it, if it stays where it is,
Okay.
address it like that.
So I think it'd be helpful to see the color cross-section of the dumpster on the next plan, so we know what it looks like and how it's being screened. And that'd be helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Clear up some of this discussion. So you, just my report's dated August 11th, and you did go for a variance and you were denied that variance in July, I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah, July something, maybe 25th or something like that.
I tried to block it from my memory, so.
Yeah. So by submission of this revised plan, are you effectively walking away or waiving your appeal, your 2506 appeal for the variance?
Well, I guess I'm not following,
So you were denied a request, and under revised code chapter 2506,
Okay.
you have the right to appeal. Are you waiving that right to appeal by submitting this plan?
Yes, we're waiving our right to appeal.
I just want to be clear. So then I do have some comments, more than just the one, I think, but it sounds like the one was maybe just viewed as more of a substantive comment. I think there's a few more. So just for the record, section 116703C13 of the code, which refers to 116707, which in actuality in the code is 116708, so it's just a typo. And that sets forth the standards specific to senior citizen residential facilities. 116708 defines senior citizen residential facilities, and I do believe this proposal adheres to that description. So so how we get here in terms of the use, and they've received a conditional zoning certificate. Going back to some of the discussion about what the residents will be looking at on Finchfield Circle and Hawks Bridge Court, so to the north. It would be helpful to know what their view will be, so some sort of your landscape architect can do it, like a view shed diagram, to understand what that development's gonna see. Mr. Wallenhurst mentioned the materiality and the material choice on that north elevation, I do think is important, because I feel like the residents are gonna see the building, and we want it to look good. That diagram, I would think the commission would want to see that for your next plan submission. Section 116708A4, and this, in my opinion, is an extremely important item. References the restricted nature of senior citizen residential to those aged 55 years and older. Evidence or documentation of compliance must be submitted to the mayor prior to issuance of a building permit. Information is presented to the mayor presents it to city council, which shall by a majority vote confirm the mayor's determination that such development will be perpetually occupied by senior citizens. So I don't know if you've gone down that path yet, but it feels to me that's an important piece that you'd want to get out there right away and get your documents pulled together and submit them to the mayor's office.
Okay. No, I agree with you, it's an important piece.
Yeah, building department won't, because let's say tonight we got approval and you came back right away and you got final approval and you wanted to start digging, because everybody wants to go quickly. Building department won't be able to issue that until that goes through that legislative process.
Understood. We won't be able to move quite that quickly to break ground. But
Yeah.
it'll be, best case scenario is we're looking at probably March, April.
Okay.
So,
And that process could take upwards of 120 days, so 3 readings of council, it's a process, so I would.
Okay, well, I guess I was not aware of that. 3
I would
readings.
submit sooner than later.
Jeez, okay.
Regarding density, their submittal at just under 10 units an acre is acceptable on the 5.5 acres. So no issue there. Building height was discussed. Sounds like we're meeting the definition of building height pursuant to the code, and the elevations will document that. Landscaping, so that north property line, I'm on comment number 6, 116708I requires senior citizen facilities whose sideline or rear lot line adjoining a residential district be screened to a minimum height of 6 feet by hedge, planting or other screening as determined by the planning commission. That north property line, I think the landscaping needs to extend the distance of the property line at least through the basin area. That's that Hawksford, or whatever the name of that road is. And then Finchfield Court. Hawks Bridge Court. And so we'd have to extend more west. And I had recommended that you try to incorporate some mounding, have some landscaping on the mounding.
So this is an updated one based off of what you said, and we've got some landscape mounding along this north line here to
Good.
provide some additional buffer.
Yeah, and I don't know how far west that goes, because there's a detention basin up there. So at some
Yeah.
point, you kind of want to go up to the basin and kind of terminate in a meaningful way.
Yes, yeah.
And the landscape plan is it's a solid landscape plan, well put together, generally addresses everything. I'd also asked for, along the driveway that you have trees, like a tree line driveway as you come in, I think would look real nice. And then 1171, comment 7, 1171, 11C. This is the parking comment. So previously you did show that parking on the western side where you're now showing retention basin A. I guess just for the record, how did you make up all that parking? Can you describe that to us?
I was gonna say, because we had, to meet fire requirements to get around the side of the building, we were able to add parking over on this side, which allowed us to shift some of the parking here and then to add the additional parking that was needed. We also added additional parking off of the driveway here that allowed for more to meet the requirement by code.
Yeah, and that's how you're able to comply with
Correct.
that requirement.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's more for, we do have some residents in the audience, and I'm assuming they're here for your case, have been here a couple times. They can't see that board, but that's why I wanted you to describe how that was occurring. We talked about the easements. I do feel like we've seen your title report that you may have submitted, and I thought if Johnny on the spot giving it to the city engineer, it turned out to be a different title report. I failed. But that, yeah, I do think you've submitted that in the past. And so with regard to that title report, who does the septic easement, should describe who it goes to?
It's to the benefit of the bowling alley.
Okay, so it is to the bowling alley.
Yes, it's to the benefit of the bowling alley.
Okay.
Yeah, that property.
Yeah.
Then you should be able to trace it with, go to the bowling alley to find out the details on
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if it's it's a discharge line or so, if there's an easement there, it makes sense it's some sort of a discharge line or something that's within that easement. It's not just there for its paper looks. There's some reason. So, yeah, exploring that would be helpful to
it.
understand
Yeah, I'll
that.
put my 2 cents in, I'll let you guys do the research, but I'm sure that septic easement predates this existing sanitary easement that runs
Yes,
north and
it
south
does.
in between the bowling alley and your building. So I'm sure that when that line went in, the bowling alley tied into it because it's 20 feet away from the bowling alley
Well, the
building,
bowling
but I'll
alley's
let you find that out.
That's
for
what
sure.
I
That's with the
assumed
housing
too.
development right there, they're not gonna have septic running near the housing development.
The bowling alley's on septic though.
Well, we don't know that.
We don't know that.
Actually, I
That's
did-
why I'm
He
like,
said
they're
for-
still on
The
septic.
easement.
Confirm they're on
Yeah, he's
septic.
Even with a
I'll bet
sewer
it-
that close, usually the EPA makes you tie in when there's a sewer that close.
I thought you were writing that down, but yeah,
No,
they
they're-
should definitely be required to tie in.
Anybody here from the EPA?
So,
Hey, I'll let you do the, I don't wanna beleaguer the point here on the floor, I'll let you guys do the research and show it to us, right, Brian?
Yeah, I'd be real.
Yeah, me too.
We already talked about the landscaping, dumpster enclosure, just showing that in detail, lighting and photometrics, you'll need that for future plan submittal. And then
So if I could interrupt you, we do show the lighting on the plan. And we did create with your comment, a photometric plan because that wasn't clear to us in the requirements. Do you need to see cut sheets of the proposed lighting as
Yeah, you
well?
can put them right on the plans, on the next set of plans. I've recommended preliminary plan approval, so if the commission agrees, I would just wanna see them on the final plan, cut sheets, human scale lighting, cause you are in a town center district, so no 22-foot tall poles, shoebox lamps, none of that stuff. So make them human scale decorative lights.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the hotel that's being proposed went with a 12-footer, something tall, decorative pole, and they're also in town center. And yeah, you do need you'll need photometrics, on the sheet. When you say you showed them, you just showed like little symbols.
That's right, yeah.
Where,
You mean just a symbol for the light pole?
Yeah, when we showed different light poles and just said,
Yeah.
called it out as a typical.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, he's looking for the photometric.
yeah.
I apologize.
That's all right.
It wasn't crystal clear to us, so
Yeah.
we now understand and we'll provide that information.
You need it on final plan approval for sure, so. And, you know, at your north property line, well, you should have full cutoff at all property lines, right? You should have no light bleed. But to the, you know, to the non-residential, there's a little bit of flexibility there, but certainly to the residential, full cutoff. And, yeah, just screen, all mechanical units, screen, and I concur with Pam in the conversation. It's in the town center district, there should be more brick, particularly on that. Well, I think the site's visible, it's a very visible site. And so, I agree with those comments about the brick. It sounds like that's gonna be a moot point here, and you'll revise the elevations. So I did recommend approval, subject to, of course, compliance with the comments in the staff reports. And then just more of a functional thing for me. If when you submit, please submit stapled copies and have them bound. You know, you can send them to any company, have them bound so they're easy to turn, page turn.
I folded the last ones. They're coming in my head.
Yeah, yeah, and I unfolded them.
I know.
Yeah.
It's all coming.
Guys, a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me ask, I'm just curious. I remember you saying you've done these residences elsewhere around the country or around Ohio or something. Didn't you ever run into this 55 and over rule before in other communities? Because I thought it was kind of common.
No, not to this extent. No.
Really?
You know, we've had to, I've never had to show how we're doing like a deed restriction to comply with that previously and have it approved by the city council in multiple readings. I think I've submitted documentation just to show how we're, you know, that our financing requires it, but it's, I've never had to have it approved by the mayor and go to city council.
But is it planned to have 55 and over in this building? Yeah.
Yeah, it's what the financing utilizes, that we're utilizing compels us to.
Yeah, I thought it would be kind of common in other communities, but maybe not.
No, it's, I mean, it's not to demonstrate in the way you're requesting.
Yeah, okay.
Is that because they had to go for a special conditional use?
No, it's required in the
Okay.
code for
Okay.
senior.
I wasn't sure if that's what triggered that.
Tony, I think we did it for your neighborhood a long
Yeah, I live in my neighborhood that we had to have.
I think we did it.
And the,
And it's not an issue, I just, when it said for building permit, I appreciate the comments that it has to go through three readings of council. I guess I didn't understand that previously.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's why I put it, just, it's potentially a time-consuming thing, that you'd want to get down that path at some point.
no, I appreciate you bringing it up.
Nina, do you have anything? So I know they kind of went through you guys' comments, did they hit
Yeah.
everything that you wanted to hit?
Yeah, Tom covered all my comments for me. Thank you.
Well, I think we've, between the comments and your comments, both of you, been a lot of good input. Does anybody have any more questions or comments from the committee? Ms. Francis recommending providing a preliminary approval. Assuming they address, you know, addressing the comments will come for the final approval, but I think what he's indicating is they're showing enough and enough, you know, preliminary, we're not committing to everything if they would not address the comments to everyone's satisfaction, but at this point, it sounds like they're going down the right road. There's definitely still some challenges you guys gotta figure out.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I could just, let me just back up just a minute on my preliminary.
Okay.
Just insofar as if the septic easement wreaks a little, oh, no pun intended, wreaks some havoc and has to result in a shift that will realign or replace things differently than what's on the plan, to the point that it's a substantive change, then you would have to come back through preliminary plan approval again. If it doesn't, then you could proceed with final plan approval.
I guess to kind of piggyback on your comment there, that's kind of one of my concerns, is that there is still a great deal of things, especially that being unknown at this point. I mean, we've heard this application a bunch of times now, and that sanitary or sewer, whatever easement it is, continues to come up and it still hasn't been determined or figured out. I feel that that needs to be figured out before we do give the next step of approval, because we're just going to continue to go down this path of, seems like it still hasn't been resolved yet, I guess, at this point.
I still think we can approve it for preliminary approval, and just as he said, if there's something wrong with this easement, I would go along with Joe here. I doubt that septic still exists this day and age, being used by a bowling alley. And I think they're hooked into the sanitary sewer, and that thing probably can be wiped out, having some experience with septic systems. So I think we could approve it, and then if it's wrong, then they'd have to back up and we'd come back for a new preliminary approval. That's what I would think. So they can move it along a little bit.
Is there a reason why you haven't resolved that yet? Is it somebody resisting you, or they're not getting back to it? Is it just haven't had the time to get around to it, or?
Well, we've made contact with the officials, we've gotten some data. It's really, at this point, just kind of proving a negative in a way that it doesn't exist, right? So, and I think that's where the point where we're at, and it may require us reaching out to the neighboring property owner to find out what information they're willing to share with us.
Yeah, if you go into them and just say, I'm not from the EPA, are you on the septic, they might just tell you.
It's kind of an odd question, right?
Might call them right now.
Why are you asking about my septic, right?
You just tell them you're buying property adjacent, doing a project, and this issue has come up, and the county says you're on septic, I just need to confirm that, and if you are, I'm so-and-so, and we'd like to try to work with you to be able to understand your system, because there is an easement on our property line.
I'm not a septic system expert, okay, but
You're not.
where would that thing, I mean, I grew up in a house that had one, but other than that, where else would it be going? Because are they saying if that is in you? I know we have to verify this, we're beyond any doubt, I appreciate that, but if that line's going, it's going through that neighborhood and what? Leaching in the trees north of the neighborhood, or?
Summit County is very negative on septic systems at all.
Yeah.
And there'd have to be a
Aware of that.
leach bed on top of the septic system where it goes. So I doubt that used to be a septic there,
That's what I'm
and the
thinking.
easement's still there, but I
I
doubt
just
that it's
vacated.
still a septic. I don't think it goes anywhere.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, they can find that out rather quickly, I think.
Well, if I may,
So, I mean,
I'll tell you.
If
they connected to the sanitary sewer, one of the requirements was to properly abandon the existing septic system, so they would have to remove it. If it's there, it means that it's working, most likely.
I can speak to how far it goes. It extended past here, past the townhomes to the other side of Spring Hill.
Yeah, it's not.
Underneath the base, it actually, the easement itself goes underneath the basin and extends to the north side of that and discharges to an old ditch stream.
Yeah, so there's a good chance Spring Hill deleted the easement in conjunction with the owner of the easement many years ago.
Goes under their house.
You guys need to find that out for us.
The easement doesn't show up on the plat of Spring Hill at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still on your property, so.
Well, again, maybe it's because I'm not an expert on this, but you're suggesting that it might still be in yours, but you're suggesting that Spring Hill deleted an easement?
No, Nino's saying that if the bowling alley tied into the sewer,
Yeah.
they would have been required to properly crush the tank and
Right.
eliminate the septic system. So there should be record of this with the county
Oh,
or
I see.
whomever, yeah.
We haven't confirmed that it still
Yeah,
exists.
yeah, they need to
Okay, I
confirm to
understand.
us all the
Okay.
details.
The burden's on us.
It could be an easement there, but it may not actually exist anymore.
Yeah, the easement still
Sorry, it
exists,
took
but it may not be
4
in
minutes
use,
to get there.
I think is what he's saying.
I got it, okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Chase.
So like this discussion, you still feel that a preliminary approval is still appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, it's ceremonial anyhow.
Right, they're not giving any official
Yeah.
anything with it.
I mean, I do. I think that if it shifts and there's a material change to the layout,
Yeah.
a substantive change, I think they need to come back through preliminary plan approval.
which is always the case.
Yeah, I'm just saying for the record. Yeah. So, but if there's no change, then they should be able to proceed. They have a fair amount of data to work with. That's entirely up to you guys.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I think you ought to make that motion.
It's gonna be
You
a
got it worked
complicated
out.
motion, isn't it?
Do we need to mention all that in there, or you stating for the record that if it is that adequate?
Yeah, and then you could simply say to address all the comments noted for the record and all the staff consultant reports.
Okay. I'll make a motion to provide a preliminary plan approval with the final plan addressing all the staff and consultants' comments.
I would second that.
Any more discussion?
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think I heard in your motion that you also noted that, that if the septic easement
So you're
resulted
saying-
in a material change to the layout, that would have to come back for preliminary plan approval.
Okay. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd second that.
All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so,
Thank you. We'll keep going.
all right,
Be back again.
thank you.
You already got something, huh?
We've got at least one or two miscellaneous things to discuss tonight. City signage is one.
You still on? You still on the signage
Forgot
part?
about that.
No, and I don't think that they came up with. We could talk about it, but it doesn't match what we approved previously.
So who's talking about this?
Oh, I guess I will. I
Okay.
apologize. I forgot that this was even on here. Who's gonna talk to Tom, but long story short, this is phase, do you guys have the, it wasn't shared with you
I
guys.
thought there was something in there. I forgot to bring my
Is
my
it
book
in
on sign.
big?
This is the,
Is it page 872?
Did I send it to you, Scott? Or no?
I don't think so.
I thought it was at the end of the,
Oh, it is at the end, you're right.
Oh, is it at the very end?
if I can get
My
there.
computer's still on page 258 or something.
Yeah, I couldn't get through on my computer.
Call out a page number if you get to it.
All right, well, Scott's got it on his screen, and he's the architect, so we're off to a good start. Yeah, there
See
you
what you're
go.
talking?
Chairman's got it too, all right.
Chairman can't call out the
Give
page number though.
Tony and Jason a moment to take you into it.
Here we go.
Tony, if you want to roll over.
Yeah, sure. So I can see.
Looks like
The
page,
presenter's using my
Yeah.
computer as well.
looks like page
You
416.
got a much bigger.
416, is that what it is?
Is where it starts.
So these are the locations?
Yeah, so, I give you the brief history, which you guys know. This started a while back, probably 2 years ago. Scott and Pam were originally behind the idea, which the mayor liked. As you guys know, last year we built phase one, which is the electronic sign across the street from Wendy's. So we are now on to phase two, which is not an electric or digital sign. It is a total of 9 Welcome to Macedonia columns, let's call it, with the locations the chairman just had on his screen, and 1 sign identifying Longwood Manor. And the Longwood Manor sign is in a Tudor style to match the home. The Welcome to Macedonia brick columns are in, I guess what we'll call a sort of a Western Reserve style or similar to the phase one sign. And really, we just want to alert the planning commission as to what's happening, let you guys know that this is going on, so that you're not surprised when you see the work begin a little bit later this summer or early fall, I guess. And Scott, I guess we're letting you know that we are trying to carry through on you and Pam's original plans.
Do we have to approve this, or
No,
just telling
Yeah.
us about it?
we're just letting you know, no vote necessary.
Will the Longman one be lit?
I think it will be lit,
Okay.
but there is no electronic, no digital display. Yeah, you can, in
It's
fact,
got
you can
some
see the
lamps.
lights on the top, yeah. And I think there's uplighting on it too.
When we talked about this the last time, there was a proposal for other digital signs.
There is, yes.
Is that coming?
That potentially could be phase 3.
Okay.
Which would probably be next year. Those 2 locations that were proposed was one across the street from Wendy's as you enter Commons Boulevard, and one on the corner of 8 and 82
By the Best
by the Best Buy corner.
Yeah.
You know, kind of hitting the big intersection there, so.
What do you think Pam thinks about some of this stuff? Is it okay with her, you think, or does it matter?
I think the mayor is okay with it, so.
Okay.
It looks sharp. I like the digital sign. It'd be nice to see.
Yeah, I like it too.
More of those and get rid of the.
Have you driven by at night? Have you been out here at night when it's dark?
I suppose so. I live in town, you know that.
I got a suntan from it.
It is bright.
But there's,
Oh,
I'm trying to think when it goes to one of the messages, maybe it's when it goes to the date and time.
The clock.
I feel
it's a
like
white
it,
background.
but as it goes to it, I feel like there's like a flash.
There is. Yeah, but not
Before it goes to the
everybody.
thing.
I've never noticed
Snap your
that.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it at night, it's bright.
Right, but there, I feel like there's it does like a flash, then it goes to the date time. Like,
Really?
yeah, I don't know what it is.
I've never noticed
If
that.
you're ever just
First time I
We'll let you
take a
know.
look.
Scott seems to feel the same way.
Whoever pro-
What's that?
I've noticed that.
Oh, have you?
If there's a way in the programming, maybe get.
Yeah, it sounds like
they'll
that's
do
the
a white
situation.
clock on a black background at night or something. I don't know, but it's really
I was reading a book
Wait,
next
is
to
it-
it. And small
fireside chat there. Kat?
Say, fireside chat. Say that again?
Like I don't know. I'm just throwing out there maybe a black background. Reverse it.
Okay, so what is the clock right now?
Right now it's a white. It's a white background with
With
black,
black
numbers.
letters.
So
Okay.
it's a clock, so they're numbers.
So nighttime inverse it is what
So
you're saying, so it
currently-
doesn't.
Yeah, I was sitting at the light and left side of my face got burnt.
Brown background, brown letters.
Oh, thank
What's
you.
that?
We could, but you might not read the time.
Blending with
Or
wood.
get rid
I
of
don't know
that.
if that's possible in the programming.
Oh,
but
I'm
if it's
sure
something
that
simple,
Kyle
a
can do
couple
anything
mouse
he
clicks.
Or
wants.
if
The
you need
question
to,
is, yeah.
if you need to have the time.
Yeah. No. Yeah, there's that too.
Joe, my only,
Well, that's usually
my
when
only
there's no context.
comment or concern in regards to the monument, it looks like that got a little beefier with the base. I'd just be careful with how this whole transition right here occurs from like a water standpoint. That's just,
Oh, okay. Like a water intrusion?
I'm guessing that they're, from what I can tell, and again, I know these aren't like, well, it looks like they're pretty detailed, but
Yeah.
my concern here would be is like unless that, like, this is gonna be a water problem with as big as that ledge is right there. I think
The cap should slope away from the brick,
It
right?
does slope away, but again, you're still going, I mean, you can do as much as you want there, and it's still going to, there's,
It's a water
water's gonna
intrusion.
find its way into that unless
Okay.
it's done. So just an FYI on that.
Sure,
Otherwise, I
I'll,
think it's
I'll
good.
bring that up to our architect and contractor.
Awesome. Was that the only agenda?
The only other thing I guess would be is if we wanted to, you guys are talking about the landscaping for the mini storage.
Yeah,
whatever
this
it is.
self-storage on Bavaria Road, he would like not to install the trees on the slope that's kind of slanting into the pond. Again, this guy's been very unreasonable. He's trying to put up these buildings and he runs into expensive stuff and then he wants to cut costs, and this is one of the things. I told him, that he should come before you guys, and he said, no. I said, could you just present it to him? I said, well, I'll bring it to him. I don't know if they want to review it or not, so here I am.
He could bring it if he wants to. I mean, I think my opinion is he needs to bring something in if he wants to do something different than what was approved, and he's gonna have to have a real good reason, like it's not physically possible, or something can't be changed so that he can do it.
Perfect.
Not just because,
Can't be a
this
cost
is
thing.
expensive and I don't wanna do it.
I would agree with Kevin.
There were specific reasons why
There
we
were.
asked for that.
And
Yeah.
he's continued to come back and change stuff consistently, like where he doesn't want to do something, or where he had the variance issue, and where he was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing before, and I just feel like it's continually.
Yeah. So yeah, if he wants to come in, if he wants to do something
Perfect.
different, come on in.
Like that, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Make a
So
motion to
whatever came
adjourn.
about with his fire lines, did he put them in separate conduit or no?
The fire line?
Wires.
Oh, yes.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
It's 50.